Welcome to another episode of Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. I am your host, Lionel McDonald. So, we are going to talk about one of my favorite albums of all time. It is absolutely groundbreaking. It just celebrated its 34th year since its release in early July 7th, 1987. So crazy, I'm thinking I'm just myself just kind of getting into hip hop, but this album, uh, created by the dynamic duo of Eric B and Rakim. Rakim is the MC, and Eric B. We had a track on there. Eric B is for president. Um, is one of the groundbreaking albums of not just that era, or the birth, as I call it, the birth of the golden era, is when this album came out. This changed hip hop in so many forms, in so many ways, and we'll talk about a few as we go through this. But it really revolutionized how emceeing, how DJing sounded on record or on wax. So Paid in Full, this duo came together. Um, they had known each other for a couple years. Eric B was, this mastermind on the turntables. He worked at WBLS. It was a radio station in New York at the time, and he was in the search for one of the looking for the best MC that was out there. And Rakim reached out, and these two connected. And it's easy to say the rest is history, but it's kind of like that. These two came together and truly revolutionized how, you can hear that I'm struggling to say that word, but really put a stamp on what emceeing and DJing sounded together on record. At this time in hip hop, um, for my newer listeners or my younger listeners, you may not know, but the industry was Beastie Boys and a lot of Run DMC. Like, those were the kings. But when this album came out, and the first track they released was Eric B for president, and it's not often you heard that the DJ was present. You think about you know hip hop today, and it's so much on the MC. In that era, it was so much on the DJ. The DJ made such an impact and such a mark on how things sounded. It's what the crowds gravitated to. But really, this was, call it a celebration of Eric B as the DJ, and like, he was so good that he should be the president. So, after this first single, Eric B for President, came out, Russell Simmons, who worked at Def Jam, and that's, arguably the greatest record label of all time. Jay-Z was on it. LL was on it, among others, through the course of history. So, it was based in Manhattan. For those that don't know, and there's Island Def Jam, or the Polygram era, and then there's so many other MCs that are on it. Pusha T's on it now. Two Chainz is on it. Public Enemy was on it in the past. So the DMX, the late DMX, rest in peace, DMX, Fabulous, Big Sean. So, like, quite a variety of different artists have been on Def Jam. But when Russell Simmons heard this, he had to find these guys. He had to find out who were these guys, and how does Rakim sound like nobody else that he's ever heard. You know, at the time, rhyme patterns were, I wouldn't say basic, but they really haven't evolved to more of a free rhythm, more of a, I guess I would call it unusual or a unique cadence. And I think when we talk about MCs between Cool G Rap and Big Daddy Kane and um, Rakim, those were kind of the three MCs that created what was known as the blueprint of the evolution of golden era MCing. They totally sounded different than anybody else, sounded different than LL or Run DMC. The vocals were complex. The rhyme scheme and the rhyme play was totally different. And within all this, there truly was a different feel. Um, hip hop at that time was very aggressive and in your face, but Rakim was so cool and calm and be able to get his message across, but at the same time deliver some of the most impactful and memorable hip hop lines that we've ever heard. It was literally it was like looking into someone that did not flinch, that did not budge, did not waver in terms of how the energy that they delivered. It almost had a jazz feel to it, but it was totally unique. And this is really what set um, them apart from everyone else. You listen to some of the beats and production on it, whether it's Move the Crowd or My Melody, which I believe was produced by Marley Marl. Um, they totally sounded different than everybody else that was out there. So this is a truly a groundbreaking album. And then it wasn't even just the album, but you just look at the album cover, and for those that don't know who Dapper Dan, and he was this Harlem Tailor, um, that was quintessentially the coolest guy in New York when it come to fashion. You hear stories about Mike Tyson, about Nas, about so many other people going to Dapper Dan's and getting this outfit, and he took stuff from that were out there, um, from different, whether it was Gucci or Louis Vuitton or Fendi or any of these, call it, New York Fashion Week brands, and he made it for the streets. Whether it was, he made stuff that these designers could not see or did not see how this could fit into urban culture. Much celebrated, from Spike Lee to Frank Sinatra have all given props to Dapper Dan, but he made these guys an incredible suit, matching suit, and it was they used to call them. It wasn't even knockoff that Dapper Dan did. It was called a knock up. Like, it was totally out of there, but a custom suit for both of them to wear on the album cover, and totally changed the game. You see that they do something similar on the following album, which is Follow the Leader, but truly an amazing piece of work that that Dapper Dan, gave them this. It was almost like the perspective of what everyone saw, um, and really elevated what the duo looked like. When we talk about this album, that this is a five mic album when it comes to the source. You look at anyone that is measured an album, whether it's Rolling Stone or Blender or All Music, which are all publications out of the time. Um, this is rated as one of the elite albums of all time magazine. Um, Time magazine even rated it as one of the best albums that came out in the 80s period. And 80s, a lot of people love the 90s, but the 90s were heavily influenced by the 80s. And it's truly a groundbreaking album. I think of those that are say that they've been influenced by the album. Um, Literally anyone that is even in this current era, from J. Cole to Kendrick Lamar to 2 Chainz, those guys are all influenced by the album. Go back to Wu Tang or Nas or 50 Cent, or even Jay-Z, and you even think about his peers, and that really set the bar of what people were trying to do, whether it was KRS-One, as he moved forward from, the groundbreaking Criminal Minded to Long Live the Cane to um, even some of the stuff that DITC did, um, all influenced by this elevation of rhyme style. And we definitely hear it loud and clear through through so many of the MCs, whether it's Buckshot, whether it's many guys again I mentioned from Wu Tang that all ran with Paid in Full. It even led to like a Paid in Full album and soundtrack that came from a movie. Now, not quite related, but definitely influenced by um, what was that came out of the beats from Eric B and obviously Rakim. So when we look at the singles that came out from this album, um, five major singles, and it's amazing that the last single was the first one because that was a title track. So they got some buzz, but obviously by Eric B is for President. I Ain't No Joke was really what took the world by storm. I Know What Got Soul and Move the Crowd were also smashes, but when the title track came out, right around when the album dropped, which was Paid in Full, people still sing that song to this day. Um, and truly, it is an unbelievable record that has come out, and it's really left the hip hop community always going back to looking at. It was 4 years ago that, for those that didn't know, was the first time Eric B and Rakim had stepped on stage in some time. It was the 30th anniversary, a couple years before this COVID pandemic. Um, but the 30-year anniversary of this album, and this is when they decided to go out there and re-perform the entire album from front to back. And I know I've been at a few shows, whether it was Jizza for Liquid Swords or several other artists have gone out there and done an album, front to back. We definitely have seen Wu Tang do it. It's kind of one of their go-to things these days, or at least pre-COVID. But yeah, they did this album front to back, and I know they had some creative differences. So after four amazing albums, they decided to go their separate ways. But I think really to hear them do it, I wish I was there. It would be ultimately uh, something just to witness on how amazing that would be to see these guys perform it. So hey, next year is 35 years, and to be alive and to have both artists, as we've had so many artists pass us over the last several years, from DMX um, to Prodigy to Fife Dog to so many others, Sean Price, MF Doom, like to have these guys hopefully be able to redo that album and perform it again would be something extremely amazing to see. Um, and for those that were grew up in those times, or I know this is kind of like one of the gateway albums I had as a young man, or young boy at that point. Those songs really resonated with me as I went back, even is really picking up hip hop in 86, but then going back and after a few years and being able to earn a little bit of money, going back and trying to really understand and hear some of the amazing things that had already been out there. I definitely saw it as a big opportunity to go and learn this album front to back, back to front. And I'm still amazed every single time that I hear it. I have it on tape. I have it on CD. I still play the tape in my living room. And it's truly one of those albums that it doesn't feel like anything else. It feels like as you listen to the album, you are in for something that you probably have never experienced if you've ever heard this for the very first time. And even some of our Canadian artists, you know, whether it's Mishi Me or um, who am I thinking about? Maestro Fresh West. These are people that have been even influenced by this album over the test of time. You know, it was truly a birth of the new era of hip hop, and truly sounded differently than anything else that had ever come out prior to that. So take some time, take this one in. This is a truly special album, and I love it dearly. You know, I think if I think about my favorite song, Paid in Full and Ain't No Joke, but I've always gravitated to My Melody and Move the Crowd. I think I bought a Nike T-shirt a few years back. It said Move the Crowd, and I only bought it because it made me think about this album. So that's what I have. Eric B and Rakim, salute to you all. Truly an amazing album and an amazing piece. And if you've never heard it, I suggest you do. Take some time and take it in. It is absolutely amazing. Salute to one of the great groundbreaking albums of our time, Paid in Full.